Welcome back. It's 4:25. You're listening to 1290 WMCS, the talk of the town. Let's take Jay, and then we'll certainly, Brother Meade, give you an opportunity to chime in on what it is you wanted to say. Jay, what's going on, man?
Earl, how are you? Happy holidays, man. And I truly enjoy your show whenever I get the opportunity to listen to it.
Well, thank you, man.
First of all, my personal opinion is that the church is a joke. Unfortunately, we as the people are so caught up into this mystery God that we allow individuals like the Eddie Longs and the rest of them to place us in this situation of believing in them to, it seems, make them richer than making the community richer. I believe that a church is supposed to build and grow and develop the community economically and also spiritually. My question has always been in regards to the churches, why don't they come together collectively to build institutions that will better the conditions of our community? They gather in so much money and they place so much money into these white-owned banks. With the type of revenue that these black churches generate, one would think that they would be able to open up and start their own banks to build and develop the community. But for some reason, it seems that they are not interested in that. They're more interested in allowing that pork chop chicken eating preacher to look good. You know what I mean? While the community suffers. Why should there be homelessness? Why should there be foreclosures? Why should there really be the ills that are in our community if the church came together collectively and worked with one another? They all say they believe in God.
Well, Jay, I'm going to let Frederick handle that. That's about...
Well, you essentially answered your question. It's what has happened is the black churches in this country collectively have abandoned the mission of promoting social justice. When the Bush administration came to power, they instituted what was called the faith-based initiative. And what that did is it provided funds to church institutions that were providing any particular service to the public, to their surroundings. Well, when this federal money started to come to these preachers, they started to take much of this money for themselves, and a lot of that money never did get to the fund those projects that it was directed for. When that money came in, the theology then changed. The theology emerging from the black church historically has been predicated on social justice, but when this money came in, it then became a theology rooted in prosperity. That's why you have all these churches out here talking about, God's going to do something good for you tonight if you just give me some money today. That's what, that's what's been abandoned now. The theology of social justice has been replaced by a theology rooted in financial prosperity, and it's at the expense of our people, and that is why the black church behaves the way it does now. And again, it's at our expense.
Well, sir, I am so proud of you for making that analogy, for speaking truth to the power in regards to the institution and in regards to our people's condition. Listen, if these pork chop chicken eating preachers would come together, the Baptists, the Methodists, the Islamics, the Jehovah's, and the rest of them, and said that they was going to build and develop our community to make the lives of our people better, then we would definitely be in a better situation than we are. But my question has always been, since I've been a child, is, if you say you believe in God, why is it that there's a white church? Why is it that there's a black church? Aren't y'all supposed to be believers in God, Jesus Christ?
Hey, Jay.
That's the most divided place on the planet. But unfortunately, we as a people don't understand the hypocrisy of religion and honestly what it really does to destroy culture and nation.
Hey, Jay.
Earl, have a happy holiday.
Hey, Jay, thank you, man. It would be nice if you had an opinion on the subject. 4:30. Anybody want to respond to that?
I just have a question. How do we get back?
Let's
Okay.
not
How
go.
do the churches get back? How do we change the mindset of the church? How do we change the mindset of the people? What do the people need to do, or what needs to be done?
Well, the people, what needs to happen is those who understand the predicament we're in and the reasons for why the church functions the way it does needs to inform the public. It is the public, the congregations, that must call their preachers to task. They must call them on the carpet and say, look, these are our needs. Our people are suffering. What are we doing as a church to advance the interests? As long as we leave it on the church or leave it on the pastors, the condition will never change. They will continue to behave the way they do because they're receiving this money. If the congregation stands up and calls the pastor out, and not even necessarily call them out, but just call their attention to the needs of our community and their commitment as a disciple of Christ to address it, then the situation can change. But as long as we depend on the preachers to find a heart and find their spirit that would be rooted in social justice, nothing will happen because they've been baptized in finance and not necessarily the legacy of Jesus.
Well, at one time, there were some individuals who were doing some things in terms of social justice. Daddy Grace, Father Divine, and other institutions. Unfortunately, they didn't hand that down. That information, they didn't train somebody to take that over once they passed. That's another unfortunate thing about our so-called leadership. We don't pass the baton. We're afraid to give it up. But there were some good models. But today, just as you stated, these churches, especially these mega churches, are rooted in the prosperity gospel. And the parishioners there, their whole hope is to get theirs. Their whole hope is, I'm just trying to get mine. They don't care about what may even be happening outside the doors of those churches if they're situated in the black community. Because a lot of those parishioners don't live in that community. They go there, but they don't live in that community. Or if that church is way outside somewhere and they know that they come from a community that's suffering, but at least I can go there and get my emotional needs fulfilled. Get all hyped up. The preacher's real good. He says a great, not a great sermon. He just hyping you up. No real message, no real learning. It's just hype.
How did we get on this taboo subject, brother?
Well,
We can't help but what you can't see.
Well, the truth has to be told, and I visit a lot of churches, especially when I'm traveling out of town, and so I always find a church to go to on Sunday. But seeing what appears to me that the churches seem to be serving the wealthy, that the congregation is more middle upper class now. I don't see the poor people there anymore, the needy people there anymore. I don't see that anymore.
Well, the church as an institution, the poor will come typically when they see needs being addressed in the community. William Augustus Jones, theological scholar, civil rights giant, used to say, you can't preach Jesus to a starving man. And he understood that.
Yep.
And, the poor will come if their needs are being met, but first you got to feed them.
Right.
First you had to do something for them. You had to show that this is relevant. Again, you can't preach Jesus to a starving man.
Do you know, I've heard, and let's bring Carolyn in first, because, she's been waiting. Carolyn, how you doing? You have a question or comment?
Number one, I want to thank you for bringing Mr. Meade here. I'm sorry I wasn't able to come and meet you personally.
You can meet him tonight.
But
You can meet him tonight, Carolyn.
Oh, listen, Earl, I don't know if you know, but I make these flaxseed crackers that I sell around town, so
okay.
I'm working.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, you'll be back in town next month.
But where is it going to be again tonight? I might try to stop by.
At 6315 West Fond du Lac Avenue, Jeans Lanes.
Okay. But I just want to say that, Mr. Meade, you are hitting it dead on the head. Now, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was telling me about a church in Alabama. I think it was in Alabama, where the pastor talked to the congregation and said, listen, how much money, everybody bring in their grocery bills, how much money they spend a month on groceries. So they found out that they spent a lot of money. So what they did, they went and opened a grocery store. And from
Who did, the church?
The church.
That's a true story?
the church opened a grocery store, and from what I understand, it is thriving. And not only did it open the store, but it spawned other businesses too, where the congregation is supporting it, and then the community at large is supporting it. So you're right. If our churches decided to pool their resources together, the black community wouldn't be in the condition that it is in. And I listen every Monday evening just for you, Mr.
Oh,
Meade,
so what about me?
You bring a good thought.
Hey, yeah, but what about me? You just listen. Can the brother get a?
Earl, but listen, you're the catalyst.
Can the brother get some love?
You brought him to us.
Oh, okay.
You get much praise.
All right, Carolyn, I'm only pulling your leg.
Okay,
Thank you very much. We got to go to break. 4:36. Brother Frederick Alexander, me, Brother Oshie, Doc, and you. You're listening to 1290 WMCS, the talk of the town.
I gotta remember to mention when we come off.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be in town next month. I keep forgetting.
Oh, for the king.
Yeah, and she keeps emailing me like, when are you going? And I'm like, I'll tell you. I just keep forgetting because once we get talking,
How did we get on this church thing, man? But
That
that
one
brother was
brother
right on point, though, man.
Oh.
He answered his own question. Huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so different as I was a kid in the church that I used to go to Mule and wagging up the mountain in church and the stuff and all that, and just coming